I'm Kai, your host of K-pop lore, and today we'll be discussing P1Harmony's Kyo, best friend Choi Jiung, and their debut movie and album, P1H, A New World Begins, and Disharmony Stand Out. Before getting started, I would once again recommend watching the movie to avoid any spoilers, and I also just quite like the movie. I know I have not disclosed where you can watch it. I know you can look it up and it's easy to find. For free you can get it on Tubi, which is only in certain areas and only English subtitles. On Demand Korea, which is only in Korean without any subtitles. Plex, which is English subtitles only. Amazon, again, English subtitles only. And Kokoa, which you have to pay, but it doesn't seem too bad, and it claims that it has more languages for these subtitles. I'm not sure though. As I said before, there are 3 timelines. We will really only discuss the past, a little bit of the present, and again, the past starts with Kiho and Jiung half lying on each other, half lying on the ground. When we see them, they're being recorded by the masked ghost, and we see the masked ghost a lot. Also, just a little tidbit, I think the masked ghost might be Sajol-sung, or at least very high up within the ranks and very trusted by Sajol-sung. Then they kind of wake up and look around, try to figure out what's going on and why they don't remember anything. Then as they're kind of looking around, they find a bathhouse key, pick it up. They then see the masked ghost, which after he realizes he's been spotted, he starts running away from them and takes a little tumble. So they ask who are you? Do you know where we are? Who are we? Why don't we remember anything? Yada yada yada. They end up chasing the masked ghost to a car with 2 other guys that have pew-pews, and the 2 other guys get out and start trying to, pew-pew them. Eventually, as they're running away and getting chased, the pew-pew jam, so they take advantage of that and they end up getting away, escaping safely, and they find a phone booth, which I will also say, it's only certain parts of their memories that were erased, so it was very specific, because they know how to talk, they know how to react, they know what pew-pews are, so it's only very specific memories being erased. So they get to the phone booth where it looks like Jiung is trying to kind of call just anyone, because they don't know anyone, they don't remember anything. So I don't know what that was supposed to do, but then they run into Hisu, who originally introduces herself as Superwoman, find out where the bathhouse is, and go to Jiung's uncle's bathhouse. They break in by breaking the window on the door, which Jiung specifically does this. Kyo's just behind him, and so they go in with flashlights, and they find which lockers there's, and they start looking through their stuff. And I did not notice this in my previous video on the past with Kyo, but the masked ghost was following them and watching them even then, because it kind of pans away and we see a mask, but it's very clearly the masked ghost. So then Jiung's uncle wakes up and confronts him for breaking in. Jiung then tries to tell his uncle that, oh, well, we had just forgotten our stuff, so we came back to get it. Sorry. He then tells them, okay, just go home. You guys will come back tomorrow so you can pay off to fix it. And then Jiung tries telling his uncle oh, well, we actually don't remember anything. And he just kind of tells him to stop playing around and still kicks them out anyway. They then go into a bathroom where Jiung washes his hands and comments on how the warm water feels nice. Then after Kyo is done, he goes into their duffel bag, picks up a watch, which has KH, so it's his, and then finds a ring with JW. So he's oh, it must be yours. Gives it to Jiung. Kyo starts kind of joking, oh, do you think maybe we're secret agents and that's why you can't remember anything? Or at least I hope he's joking. Then a guy comes out and they kind of get a little startled, and he says, pretty jumpy for secret agents. And Kyo asks if they are, then shows them how to use the watch and ring, and he teleports Kyo, and then he tells Jiung to focus on something, Jiung focuses on the toilet and then breaks it. He asks Jiung why he did that, as if Jiung knows what he's doing. Now this man ends up shapeshifting into another guy before telling them that they will find the signal and they have to find the masked ghost and stuff. The guy that he transforms into, we will later learn. The guy that can shapeshift, I'm pretty sure, ends up being revealed as Ajusi, and the guy who helps Intok in the present time frame, or at least someone helping Ajusi, because he ends up getting the three of them together when they get the signal. So then they end up leaving and they kind of chase the masked ghost to it. They end up finding the masked ghost, gets in the car, and it was the same car from before. So Jiung stops the car from moving and Kyo teleports inside to try to get them to talk. They don't talk. So Jiung lifts the car up, still not talking. So he turns the car over, dumps them out, and every time that they don't keep talking, he lowers the car, basically threatening to drop it on them. So, and once they try to reveal more information, they get pew-pewed by Superwoman. And this is also where we learn the name Sojosong. So, and in front of the masked ghost, Superwoman murders herself to prove her loyalty to Alcor. So they then follow the masked ghost into the Alcor building. Alcor right on the front of it. So they continue to try to follow him, half successfully. They end up in this room where Jiung is looking at the blueprints for the drone and sees a technically not whiteboard, it's clear, but for all intents and purposes, it's a whiteboard. A ton of stuff drawn on it, and with 2020 being a circled number. So Kyo ends up taking off an oxygen mask off of a woman who most likely is infected by the Alcor virus, just based off of how she lashes out the second the mask is taken off. Then Jiung has to come to the rescue, but she does the correct thing of grabbing her hair and then putting the mask on to calm her back down. And then a fog starts filling the room, and what do? Do they try to run? No, they just stand there and cough. They have the survival instincts of pebbles. So they get knocked out by the smoke, and when they wake up, they are surrounded by the civilians that they had met earlier, along with other people that were clearly employed by Alcor. Now this guy who, for this scene, is the main villain, he comes down, kind of taunts them about oh, you guys are too late, you guys aren't gonna be able to stop us. You know, Song is already in the year 2020, and he threatens to destroy their petty objects so that way they no longer have powers and stuff. So he then says oh, you guys are all just extras in a script. And Kyo says, well, your script kind of sucks, to which adds on, it needs a rewrite. Then they very poorly attempt to fight back, and after getting their butts kicked for a little, they seem to regain some sense, adrenaline maybe, and get slightly better at fighting, and end up getting all the other employees out of the way, so they don't have to worry about them. So then the main guy comes down and starts fighting them. Even though it's 2v1, Jiung and Kyo are not doing very good. So eventually, Kyo gets put into a headlock, and Jiung gets thrown onto the ground on his back, and Kyo, thinking on his feet, yells the ring. Then scramble to both get the ring. He kind of shoves Kyo to the side, but Kyo gets back and continues to try to stop the guy. He eventually knocks Kyo out, but by then Jiung already has his ring. And Jiung then puts the main villain and throws him in a room. The ring seems to make Jiung a lot better at fighting, shockingly so. So then Jiung ends up winning because he has telekinesis now, and he goes over to Kyo, kind of tries to wake him up, but he doesn't. So then he starts performing CPR, and Kyo wakes up right before Jiung can perform out the mouth. And even though Kyo calls him gross, he's still super worried, are you okay, are you okay? So then after they're all good, he uses telekinesis to grab the watch and then gives it to Kyo, and they try to go to the year 2020. At first they end up in 2012, but then eventually they do end up in 2020, meeting Intok. Now, they stop Intok from having to fight a few of the zombies, I guess. So then they kind of ask Intok who he is and what year it is, and they get very happy when they hear that it's the year 2020. Largely, this is where the movie ends. We still have, like, them stepping out and essentially the performance music video of Siren. This is where, like, a huge part of the acting ends. For the Siren part, which is still a part of the... We see him step out with the others, then we see him hitting alarms while running down the hallway, which is also in the Siren music video. He is also being watched in the music video, likely by Alcor, and he ends up holding a megaphone, which is symbolic of the whole song, because Siren signals their arrival. Jiung's lines are about him kind of being unstoppable and kind of being like a guide. I'm sorry about the pronunciation, but intro to is Jiung expressing how he wants to kind of break down borders and that he doesn't like people just kind of mindlessly following. Lemonade is about pushing against norms, not being put into societal boxes, and kind of doing what you want. That's It is about how he has full faith in himself and P1. Butterfly is about trying to overcome their challenges and how he doesn't want to listen to outside pressure. And for Skit to Jiung talks how hard it is to even get the role of class president and how it can help with scores and stuff. And again, there's plenty additional information for our hips. His favorite food is doiji bobek. The eye test he took gave him INTJ, which means introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging, with the timid tag additionally. His nickname is Jiung or Ung. His dorm role is handyman or dad. A hashtag that represents him is #sane. His catchphrase, specifically when angry, is come out, typically so the members will fix or clean something that... His habit is grinding his teeth in his sleep. His charm is a small face or head. His representative animals are cat, otter, or really just any type of rodent or rat. His way to release stress is daydreaming. He fears cockroaches, which, same Jiung, same. The first thing he does in the morning is plan the most efficient route through the dorm and turning off the fan, because Intok doesn't set the timer for the fan to turn off automatically. He describes his relationships with his members, or just kind of describes the members as Dongso being a bond of sympathy, Theo being a childhood friend, Intok as an artist, Kyo as the support system, Sol as a Japanese teacher, as Jiung likes Japanese food and meat. Thank you for listening to a little deep dive. I hope to see you back for our next episode where we'll discuss Intok from P1Harmony. Stay safe, eat well, and drink your water. Bye!